Imagine skipping school, cooking, collecting medicine, and trying to save your sick mom with a candle and a miracle, only to drink the medicine and mess everything up. Today we're diving into Frank O'Connor's classic short story, The Man of the House, a tale about guilt, love, growing up, and one hilarious disaster. This is your full CSEC English B breakdown. Plot, setting, characters, themes, let's go. Let's start with the plot. In the exposition, we meet Fleury Sullivan, a 10-year-old Irish boy who lives with his single mother on the old Youghal Road in East Cork. One morning, he hears her coughing terribly and realizes she's seriously sick. That's when he decides to skip school and become the man of the house. Then comes the rising action. He lights the fire, cooks, and runs errands. He's really stepping up, but things get intense. He faces his fears, goes to a bar and buys whiskey for his mum, where he is teased by a drunkard. Then he walks far, to the dispensary to get her medicine. Even promises the Virgin Mary a candle if his mom gets better. But while at the dispensary, he meets this charming girl in a green shawl and he is totally distracted by her. And then he drinks the medicine with her. All of it. Total disaster. That moment of realization is our climax. Full of guilt, Fleury panics. He cries, he runs from the girl and begs the Virgin Mary for a miracle, even though he's already spent the candle money on sweets. The falling action comes when he returns home, sick, ashamed, and expecting the worst. But the resolution? His mother is better. She comforts him. No scolding, no drama, just love. Fleury is relieved. The miracle happened, and he learns maybe he's not quite ready to be the man just yet. Now let's dig deeper into the setting of the man of the house. This one isn't just about where things happen, it's the world the little boy is growing up in. Story takes place in a small rural village in East Cork, Ireland during the early 20th century. The world feels quiet, simple, and almost isolated, which mirrors how a lone Fleury must feel trying to take care of everything himself. We see scenes unfold in several key locations. Fleury's home is modest and warm, but also fragile. When he sees his mother in bed and the fire out, he says, "My heart turned over with compassion." This is where he first takes steps into the role of caretaker, lighting the fire and making toast. The smallness of the home adds to the pressure he feels. It's just him and her, no distractions, but no help. At one point, Fleury walks through the glen to get to the dispensary. And for a moment, nature pulls him away from his reality. He says, "I tended to forget the real world." Glen, with its mill stream and wooded field, is peaceful and beautiful. But it's also a place of escape. It shows us that, even though Fleury is acting mature, he's still a child who's drawn to daydreams and nature. This setting brings in a bit of adult reality. A 10-year-old boy in a bar? That's wild. When he tries to get whiskey for his mom, the man inside says, "Pretending for his mother." The last time I seen him, he had to be carried home. It's loud, chaotic, and skeptical. Very different from the safety of home. It shows us the adult world is full of judgment and danger, and Fleury doesn't really belong in it yet. The dispensary is long, far, and cold. It's a journey, both literally and emotionally. The fact that Fleury walks all the way there by himself shows us just how serious he is about helping his mother, but is also the place where he gets distracted and tricked. He meets the little girl in the green shawl hair, and by the end of that scene, the bottle is empty, and so is his confidence. Even though Fleury doesn't enter it, the cathedral still represents a major part of the setting, religion. He says, "I should go into the cathedral and spend it on a candle to the Blessed Virgin to make my mother better quick." But he doesn't. because he already spent the penny on sweets. The fact that he feels he can't pray without money tells us a lot about the role of religion in this society. It's formal, structured. It also shows us the internal pressure Fleury puts on himself. He thinks, no penny, no miracle. So, what does this setting really show us? This isn't just Ireland, it's a post colonial Catholic poor Ireland. People rely on faith, neighbors, and miracles. Boys like Fleury are taught to grow up fast, but even in a quiet village, the world can be confusing and harsh. The setting creates a world where Fleury's innocence clashes with adult responsibilities, and where the lines between right and wrong, guilt and grace are super blurry. So yeah, when you read the story, you realize that the setting isn't just a background. It's a mirror. Fleury's journey from innocent child to a guilty helper to a forgiven son. Now let's take a look at the characters of the story. Let's begin with Fleury Sullivan. Two ways in which we can describe Fleury are compassionate and naive. Now, there are probably many other words that you would be able to come up with to describe these characters, but my aim is just to show you how you can use the information from the text to form opinions that you can use in your essays and then support those opinions with quotes and explanations from the story. So I'm going to show you how to use the words compassionate and naive to describe Fleury Sullivan. So Fleury is just 10 years old, but he's trying to act like a full-grown man. And honestly, he really starts off strong. The moment he realizes his mom is sick, he steps up without hesitation. He lights the fire, he makes toast, and he says, I'll stop at home from school and look after you. And I mean, that's not just sweet, that's selfless. Even his mother calls him as good as gold, and the doctor says he's a great little fellow. But Fleury is also extremely naive. He's innocent. He's doing adult things with a child's heart. When he meets the girl at the dispensary, he lets his guard down completely and he shares the medicine. Even spends the money on sweets instead of the candle he had promised the Virgin Mary. Later he admits, I saw her guile too late. That's a big word, guile. It just means trickery. He didn't see the trap coming until he was already inside it. That's a classic sign of childhood, wanting to do the right thing, but getting caught up in distractions and curiosity. And when he realizes what he's done, the guilt hits him hard. He panics, he cries, he feels like he's doomed his mother. Here's what makes him powerful. He confesses. He tells the truth. And by the end, he accepts that maybe he's not ready to carry the whole world just yet. Now, what do we think of Sullivan's mother? I think she's loving and resilient. Fleury's mother is the quiet strength of the story. She's clearly unwell, but she doesn't complain. In fact, the first time Fleury sees her sick, she's smiling. Why do you think that is? I think she was smiling because she didn't want him to worry. So she was protecting him emotionally even when her body was giving up. And later, when he confesses to drinking the medicine, she doesn't yell. She doesn't blame him. She just says, what harm? I mean, that's a true mother. She puts him to bed, she comforts him, and she's still mothering him even though she was the one who needed care. And that's what makes her powerful. She's resilient, she's soft, but she's steady. And when you think about it, she's the reason why Fleury felt safe enough to admit that he had made a mistake in the first place. Now, what did y'all think about Minnie Ryan? I don't like that she laughed at him. But anyways, Minnie Ryan, we're going to call her gossipy and pious. Every community has a Minnie Ryan. She's the neighbor who brings soup and other people's business. She checks in on Fleury's mom and she's the one who tells Fleury to go get the whiskey. She's older, she's very religious, and she's full of opinions. She says there's not many like that. Most of them are more like savages than Christians. She also brings pressure. She expects Fleury to act mature beyond his years, and she doesn't give him space to be a child. While she means well, she's part of the system that makes Flurry feel like he has to grow up too fast. And now the girl in the green shawl. Honestly, don't laugh at me, but I didn't even see her trickery coming. She is trouble. She's small, she's sweet, and she's smiling. This is the girl Flurry meets at the dispensary, and she seems friendly enough, but she ends up being the trigger for everything going wrong. She starts by asking for a little sip of his mother's cough syrup, then another, and suddenly the bottle is empty. Flurry doesn't see it coming at all. He says, I saw her guile too late. Her green shawl and green eyes, symbolic. Green is the color of envy, temptation, and mischief. She's just there giggling and chatty, and then before you know it, she disappears. Flurry is left alone with the consequences. So, what do you think she represents? Temptation, distraction, that little moment where your guard drops and everything changes. Every one of these characters pushes Flurry's journey forward. His mom gives him love, Minnie gives him pressure, the little girl gives him trouble, and Flurry gives us a front row seat to what it means to mess up, to grow up, and to forgive yourself. Now we can look at some of the themes that are portrayed in this story. We can start with love and family. Flurry's love for his mother is powerful. He stays home and cares for her. He walks miles for her. His mother shows love by forgiving him immediately, and I thought that was really touching. Even when things fall apart, their love remains unshaken. Then we've got innocence and growing up. Flurry thinks he's ready to be the adult, but real life hits hard. He learns that growing up means making mistakes, feeling shame, and still trying your best. Therefore, he realizes he's not ready, and that's okay. We also see the theme of guilt and redemption. After drinking the medicine, Flurry is overwhelmed with guilt, but when he confesses, his mother forgives him. His honesty leads to peace. And that is redemption. Poverty is a theme that is woven through everything. Flurry's mother avoids the hospital. Why? Because it's too expensive. They needed a poor law guardian's ticket for treatment. Now, when I saw this, I had to do some research. And so I'll tell you what I found. In Ireland at that time, this story was set the early 20th century. Healthcare wasn't free. So if you were poor and couldn't afford a doctor or hospital fees, you had to prove it. That's where the poor law guardian's ticket came in. The poor law guardians were officials who managed to support for poor people. So if someone was too sick to work and too broke to pay, they had to get a ticket or a letter from the guardian. The ticket says this person is poor and deserves free treatment. Now, in the man of the house, Flurry's mother is very sick. She probably needs proper medical care, but going to the hospital would cost money that they didn't have. That's why Flurry says they need a poor law guardian's ticket so she could get treatment without having to pay. Poverty affects every decision, where to go, what to buy, and even how far he had to walk. And the last theme is a little splash of gender roles. Flurry takes control of the house, right? And he even says it's funny about women, they'll take orders from anything in trousers, even if it's only 10. That line is loaded. It shows how at the time, men, even boys, had authority over women. And it seems like O'Connor may have been critiquing or mocking that imbalance just with that line alone. All right, so that's it. In this video, you should have been able to level up your understanding of the man of the house, just to give you a deeper understanding of the story and help you in your essay writing. All the best for CSEC exams, and see you later.